Welcome to This Week in BJJ, the only show running the gamut of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and running it live every Friday night.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of This Week in BJJ. This is August 31st, 2012. I'm Budo Jake, joined as usual with Budo Dane.
Hey guys.
How's it going, Dane?
It is going well.
Enjoying slightly cooler weather for your training?
Dude, I love it. I don't deal well with the heat, and so I'll take every degree that it drops. It's like I get powered up by it, like I'm Captain Planet or something.
We have a special guest tonight, Francisco Arias. You might know him from, in my opinion, the best, most entertaining jiu-jitsu blog out there, Destroyer SG.
I like to hear that. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Well, it's weird to talk with these things on, but I'm gonna get used to it. As long as my hair looks, it looks good, so I'm good. All right, guys.
We're gonna get back to you a little bit and talk more about your blog and your training. But let's introduce the fourth and fifth guests tonight. I'm drinking a Height beer, sponsor of the Dodgers, apparently. This is a Korean beer. You might have had your share of these, Dane.
I may have had a few of mine wandering the streets of Seoul.
For those of you that don't know, Dane lived in Seoul for, what, 3 years?
3 years.
Yep.
Right on.
Yeah, loved it. Second home for me.
I was there last year. I love Height. I love all Korean beers, really. So
Yeah.
It's a great beer.
And Dane, what do you have there?
I'm having the Angry Orchard apple ginger cider. It was suggested to us on Facebook by, and I'm sorry if I get your last name wrong, Jeremy, but Jeremy Bacher, as a response to, was it like episode 3 that we had the regular crisp apple cider on. So I'm trying this out. It's actually pretty good. The ginger isn't as like powerful as I expected, but it's nice. A nice bit at the end.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to try one of those.
You are more than welcome to them.
I want to remind you guys, you can join us in the chat room. And also, if you have any questions or topics you want us to bring up on any future episodes, the email address is twibjj@BudoVideos.com. So, Francisco, tell us a little bit about how you got your blog started. It's a tremendous blog. For those of you that haven't seen it, you update it daily, I believe.
Yeah, it's definitely has new content daily. Something between 1 and 3 posts per day.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fun. It's also really hard. If you want me to kind of, the history of it is back in 2009, I just had like a bunch of ideas logo-wise. I'm an artist, designer for fun. And my girlfriend, wife now, at the time, suggested I do a blog on jiu-jitsu to kind of put this stuff out. And I thought it was totally dumb, actually. I just thought it was weak, and I thought it was not manly to do a blog. And I just tried it, and at the time it was much different. It was in 09, it was like summer of 09, it was kind of like a weekly thing, and it was much more personal. It was kind of like about, articles that I would write about my beliefs on jiu-jitsu, maybe like about effort or competing or things like that, dealing with injuries. And I had some friends do some contributions who were other black belts. I was a brown belt actually at the time, and I think it was in the beginning of 2011 we were approached by Middle Easy, which is a kind of a very popular, MMA site, very snarky kind of TMZ-like site, and ours had kind of morphed a little bit into that, and they asked if we wanted to join this network, but it was going to require that we post every day, multiple times a day, and that we do exclusives, and we hadn't done a lot of that. Exclusives is a broad term, but it was basically, we were going to have to do interviews and, have people write articles, not just non-destroyer, focused material. And it was really interesting, and we decided to go for it. It was just me at the time, and I had some help at the beginning. Since then, it's just kind of developed. It's developed into what it is now, which is, putting content I see it more as like a clearinghouse for, if you're a grappler, if you're into jiu-jitsu or other kind of grappling sports, it's a place for a dude to go and, find content that they would think is cool, so they don't have to go and search for it. We try to find like the freshest, cool, most interesting things. It's usually technique stuff, but it's also interviews, and since then, I've had people contribute and come to me to contribute, and I have a right-hand man who is in Philadelphia. His name's Alan. He goes by the tagline or Demolisher on the site, and he does probably at least half the work writing. We also, we made a commitment to be unique in that every post has like unique artwork they'll try to put together, and we both have that kind of bent, and I love doing that stuff. I actually like doing the banners or the kind of like cover art more than writing sometimes.
I see some of your art. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's totally fun to do.
I often think that should be a T-shirt.
Right.
Yeah. And some of it, it's a joy.
It really sets the blog apart too, because as opposed to like a stock jiu-jitsu like photo.
Yeah, anybody can link to a YouTube video and say, "Hey, look what I found."
Right.
Yeah, so we'll try to keep it interesting, and like if we can think of like I don't know, some like African rendering of the movie Anaconda, make it wacky. We do a lot of stuff that's funny and try to the artwork, we try to kind of draw people in with it, because otherwise it's pretty basic. You're just there's some other websites out there, and I wouldn't knock any of them, because I think anyone that's doing this stuff it's fun and it's totally cool, but you got to put like tons of effort into it, and I think it shows. So we try to make the artwork really interesting and kind of draw people to it, and we always try to make a statement that's fun and interesting, kind of segueing into a piece of content, usually video, and it's usually technique. It could be interviews. A lot of focus is also on the competition stuff. We like to, one of the early themes for me was trying to make jiu-jitsu a little bit more glorified as a professional sport, because one of the lacking things I see out there is it just doesn't get that attention. And you guys do it too. I mean, but you just don't see it a lot of places. And, these athletes that put everything into it and their lives are devoted to it, it was about kind of like elevating them and kind of giving them that stature. So, maybe the world doesn't know who Rafael Lovato Jr. is, but we want to make it sound like they should.
Right.
So that was kind of part of the idea, kind of make this person, pump him up, or all of those guys. And so we've just been at it, and it's just it's a labor of love. It's totally fun. It's hard work, and we've had some good exclusive content over the last couple of years as well. We did a Hicks and Gracie interview, and we've had some neat stuff like that have been really unique for us and fun as well. So
which post has got the most attention?
It's weird. You get like we did a post on Ashton Kutcher training at De La Hiva, and that one got like more hits than anything, and it was kind of dumb. It's like it wasn't even that unique, but it's weird what people are sometimes going to focus on. A lot of the celebrity stuff, but like if you do an interview with Hicks and Gracie, you're going to get a lot of attention. The techniques, they're hard because it depends on who's doing them. Sometimes you could think like, well, this is a great technique, but if it's not, Hoffa Mendes doing it, if it's just some guy in, like South Carolina in a small gym, he's not going to get the same attention, and that's probably okay. Mm-hmm. But the big names, they get the attention. Kurt Osiander, we did an interview with him, and like the dude gets attention. The guy is just, he was talking about, I don't know, he was talking about getting laid, or that was like he made like a reference to that was like a metaphor to jiu-jitsu, and it was just like you cannot create that. That's just like, it's got to be from one dude that can say that kind of stuff. So it's cool.
Was there anything that you might have been really proud of, but it just didn't get the reaction that you expected?
Oh, I got to think about that. There's tons of stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, there's tons of artwork too that you put effort into, and you could sit there like, oh man, I'm gonna, I want to think of like something fascinating, and I'm gonna Clockwork Orange. I'm gonna do this piece of art, and just totally kind of geek out on it and spend 2 hours on it, and like it's gonna get 1,000 views, just like the one that totally is bland. And I think that's just the nature of it, though. You just have to keep at it, because it's kind of it builds over time, and you're not going to get the same attention on every single post. And I think part of it is just being consistent.
Yeah.
A lot of people will come out and do really interesting things on the internet, and I think they just can't stick with it because life gets in the way, that kind of stuff. People have job issues or girlfriend issues, and it's the same thing with people's training in jiu-jitsu. It's the same thing. So for us, it's just about maintaining like consistent, high quality, putting a ton of effort into it, and we have to kind of play, like, no pun intended, like catch as catch can with the material. So if we can't get an interview, we'll do something else. And I'm constantly trying to think of ways to keep it interesting by doing collaborations. We started doing these, Grapplers Interrogatories, which you guys participated in, and that was just sort of like just a goofy thing, a brainchild. That I'm an attorney actually by trade, so like an interrogatory is sort of a combative interview on paper, and so it was really because I was talking to Bon Cacho. He's the guy that owns Fight Soap, and he wanted to kind of tell his story a little bit, and so I created a little framework for it. And then I wanted to make it easy on myself by not having to like think of reinvent it every time. So we went with like let's come up with some really stupid questions, and then a few kind of introspective ones,
right? And
just go with it.
Yeah, that was really cool. And for the graphic on my interview, he used like an old school video game picture, which you didn't even know me at that time, but I love old school video games, so that was so appropriate.
I love old school video games.
All right, we got to hang out more.
Yeah, big time.
I think what the viewers want to know is what do you do with all the millions that you're making on this blog?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm trying to hoard right now. I'm looking into a Bentley, but I'm just waiting for a few more page views, and that's where the real, the big cash is going to come in.
But yeah, like you said earlier, a lot of people start out with a lot of energy and motivation to do something, and then they just peter out because I think they don't see, the money coming in, and it, like you say, it's a labor of love. You got to put so much work into.
I was going to ask you, how do you keep up your motivation, especially on wavering attention like that? Because, like you said, you spend 2 hours making this graphic, and then it gets a glancing look. And then the random Ashton Kutcher piece blows up.
Yeah, it's silly. It's you just have to be psyched on it, I guess, and just it's just like anything, but it's like extracurricular, let's say. And for me, it's about like you always have something new that you're trying to do. We started doing more branding stuff, like making these awesome shirts, and that I designed this one, but we started doing more of that, and we had some really interesting success with it. That was the one thing I was a little concerned about because when I first started this, I wanted to do, some branding based on the site, and I wasn't sure exactly how that would segue, and it went really well. People look at the site like I wanted them to, which is that they kind of rely on it, or they can at least they want to vouch for it by repping it, which was like the big thing for me. Would people do that? All of my friends and people that I train with, they all rock Destroyer stuff and patches, but we really sold like a ton of patches, and we don't try to make money off the patches. We just want people to sport them, on their gis, and people are, so that's cool.
Do you think you're gonna go further down that road and make more apparel and stuff like that?
Yeah, I don't think that we're gonna ever really make like a kimono or something. Although we maybe would dabble in like something like a collab on something like that, which I think would be cool. But we definitely have some ideas, and a lot of it for me is just like anything is coming up with the next thing that's like your next batch of t-shirts that are going to be super dope and interesting. And our stuff is always kind of like cheeky and funny, and just kind of doing that kind of stuff. And so we're going to continue with that. Yeah. Where
would you say you get most of your inspiration from?
Oh man, for me, a lot of it's like 70s TV shows that are really bad, like Land of the Lost or something like that. Just goofy stuff like that. Old rock and roll. Just like I love like all kind of 80s punk rock, bad television, all that kind of stuff. That's the style. Try not to take things too the whole idea is like we don't take anything seriously except for jiu-jitsu, which is really kind of like how I am anyway. I take jiu-jitsu really seriously, but all this other stuff, no, and definitely always having fun training. So we try to present that vibe.
You mentioned earlier that you're an attorney. Do you think your lightheartedness of the blog kind of balances out the seriousness of your daily life?
Yeah, I think it gives you that outlet, right? You have a few outlets. Your jiu-jitsu is your outlet to kind of crush people. No, I'm just kidding. But it's one outlet, and then the artwork is another because it's your artistic side, and you get to be funny, and it's a little freeing. And the site is not controversial, so it's. I think it's nice and steady, but yeah, definitely for me, it's like you get to express yourself in that way. And it's funny. I just got a comment yesterday on a post. We always do this, and I have fun with it. But we did a post on like Hoffa Mendez doing that anaconda, which I thought was a really cool video. And I always typically will start by making fun of the reader of Destroyer. And I made some comment about someone thinking that they know how to do the anaconda, and I don't know. It generally like leads toward you can tap out 14-year-old girls or something like that. And someone wrote a comment saying that they didn't think it was endearing that we make fun of our readers, and I thought that was funny because I was thinking, oh shoot, I thought that was funny, but someone else defended me right after that on the comments. But that's all I got, man. I mean, it's fun, but I guess it's not for everybody. But I really think it's all in good fun.
For sure.
We're not about hurting anybody.
Yeah, not everybody's going to get it.
And there's always someone that's offended by something.
Yeah, you kind of have to stick with the style. You know what I mean? You can't like be too influenced by one guy whining about not thinking you're funny. But that's what happens when you're public like that. I mean, you must find that too. You're in public now. I don't know if you probably weren't a public guy 4 years ago when you weren't going on camera and doing things, and you just kind of put yourself out there a little bit. Ours is a little more artistic, and so we're even out there even more. Subject to people's criticism, but that's just part of the whole adventure of it.
Right. And I think if you try to please everybody, you're going to have the most bland site out there.
Yeah, and you're not really yourself. So
Right.
It's like you got to go with, who you're going to be and just have fun with it and just, I don't know. If you do try to please everybody, then it's a different site too. It's like, there's Gracie Mag, which is like a news site.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to find out who won, an event in Rio or something like that, you can go there. But there's room for, that was the whole idea, was that there's room for the fun stuff that's like not just that. And I think it can kind of complement something like that. There's Tatame and Gracie Mag that are really just like for information about jiu-jitsu. And we're not just doing that.
Yeah. Thank you for keeping it entertaining.
Thank you. Yeah. You're welcome.
Let's get a little bit into your personal life, your jiu-jitsu. Where did you start? Who have you trained with?
Okay. Well, it's I'll try to keep it simple. Let's see. I started out like a lot of people as like a karate dude back in the mid 80s.
All right, me too.
Dude. Started out as a karate dude. I started training Chinese Kempo at David Torres Kempo Karate in Pico Rivera, California. I did that for about 10 years. And right around the mid to late 90s, everybody in LA was starting to kind of look at other stuff. All of my friends that were from martial arts, they started examining these things. And on the west side where I lived, people were starting to train at Danny DeSanto Academy, doing shoot and jiu-jitsu, and I didn't know too much about that stuff. I ended up going to like a neutral ground. Do you remember Neutral Grounds?
Mm-hmm.
I went to Neutral Grounds fight, back in like, I don't know, 96 or something. And I kind of like thought, oh, these guys are cool. And I started training with this guy, Kaja, in San Pedro. And he's the guy, you might know him. He started this thing called Cage Combat with 2 Ks. It was in San Pedro, and it was like Pancrase style fighting. It was related to Neutral Grounds because Ryan, the guy that did Neutral Grounds, was his student, and it was like a early no holds barred or late no holds barred really, because it was like 98, and we were doing what I learned later was like no-gi jiu-jitsu, and the stand-up stuff was like, I guess like Jeet Kune Do kind of stuff. That's what everyone was doing in MMA back then, before it was MMA. Everyone thought that was the way to do it. No one was doing Muay Thai or boxing. They were doing that.
Did you punch with a vertical fist?
We did like the destroy, where you do the double blocks and stuff, and like but it was like, inside, it was good stuff. It was like kicking, segueing into takedowns. And then I did that for a little while, and basically segued into training at Street Sports in Santa Monica in early 2000.
Is that Magno that's there?
Yeah, Nato Magno. That's my coach. It was really because a mutual friend with another friend, he had, some guys had come from Minasanto and they were training with Hanat, and I just, started there day one, just started there. I had about a year or so of experience with some groundwork, and I was a wrestler in high school. And it was just like falling in love. Like everything was like total love. I love this place. I love all training with these dudes. I love jiu-jitsu. I'm never going to do any of this other stuff again. And I haven't like really thrown a real serious kick since then, since February of 2000. So yeah, and with Hanat, I haven't trained anywhere else. I train with Street Sports, and since then, a bunch of us, a bunch of my teammates have sprouted their own academies, street sports academies. One of my close friends, Kenny Bond, has a school in Simi Valley. There's Chris Lissandro in Sherman Oaks, and a bunch of other guys who've started schools. I've just been going straight with Hinat since then, and it's been awesome.
Does Hinato have any larger affiliation?
When we first started when I first started, he, I think, opened his doors in '98 sometime. And we were all of our patchwork, and we were an official RCJ Machado representative for many years. Since then, we're not, but we're still very tied to them. Hinat's history was that he was from Sao Paulo, but he started training with the Machados and really like all those guys like in Rio. I think they shared academies with like Carlson Gracie or something like that. When they all came here, he came here with them. He was, I think, Jean-Jacques, one of the coaches at the Tarzana school. And then he sprouted off his own academy in '98. And, we're still very tied to Machados. And we were originally very tied, and still are, I think, to, Carlos Gracie Jr., who was the person who promoted Hinat, after black belt, I think. I think Hegan gave him his black belt, and then Carlos gave him, like, his other degrees.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing your training history.
That's the story. Yeah.
All right.
BudoVideos.com, home of the world's largest selection of quality Jiu-Jitsu kimonos. Show-Your Roll, Storm, Tatami, Bull Terrier, Venom, and others. Styles from more than 30 top brands in stock and ready to ship. BudoVideos.com. You're only a click away from owning a new gi today.
Hi, I'm Rick Brown from LibertyStrengthTraining.com, and I'm here from my friends at Kaisan Athletic to introduce to you the new Kaisan Athletic Power Mace. If you're a grappler, if you do Jiu-Jitsu, if you need a strong grip, you need a Power Mace. Every time you pick it up, your hands are gripping this thick handle, and you're getting a workout for your forearms, your elbows, your arms, and your hands. It's incredible. I'd like to show you a few of the movements that you can do with these 4 different sizes. The Kaisan Athletic Power Maces are available in 15, 20, 30, and 45 pounds and are available at BudoVideos.com.
Well, Dan, we got a lot of news to talk about today.
Yes, we do.
First one being the Boston Open. I was in Boston all last week for the Boston 2012 International Open. There's a lot of good matches. JT Torres did great.
Right.
He won his weight division, lightweight, but in the absolute division, he won his first match, or first or two.
Oh yeah, this is brutal.
And he ended up getting spiked on his head.
Oh, wow.
Had a concussion, and so he wasn't able to compete in the finals of the Absolute division. So Formiga, Rafael Barbosa, took the gold.
Well, you were telling me you caught him after the podium, and he was still recovering, right?
Yeah, it was probably 2 hours after the incident, and I was interviewing him, and he was just out of it.
Wow.
It's like he didn't even know where he was.
So it must have been just pure autopilot for the rest of the match.
Which is amazing to see that he did so well to make it to the finals.
Wow. Was it with a larger opponent?
No, it wasn't too big.
Wow.
Formiga's
bad.
Yeah, Formiga's probably one weight class higher. But no, it happened against Tanquinho, Augusto Mendes, who was in the same weight class.
Oh wow, just a bad accident.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. But we do have one of the matches. Oh, by the way, it's on YouTube. The episode of this week. I'm sorry. IBJJF TV, episode 9 in Boston. That's on YouTube right now. You can see a lot of the matches there. One of them that you won't see there is Tanquinho versus Renan Borges. This is a really exciting match. We got it right here. Let's take a look. That's Renan on the right. Augusto Mendes, also known as Tanquinho, now he's on the bottom.
It happened so quickly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tanquinho's just come back from a serious neck injury. He had a metal plate put in his neck. This is only his second tournament.
Holy wow.
He took gold at his first tournament coming back. That was the Las Vegas Open.
Was the venue in an ice hockey rink or something?
Yes, it was.
That's awesome.
If the camera pans out, you can see the glass walls with all the people behind it.
I saw it when it came in. I totally would want to check someone.
Yeah, it was pretty cold in there because these mats are basically on top of the ice.
Ooh. It's cool to watch. It's cool to watch the exchange, the grip exchange, because you're just seeing them set pawns out.
Yeah, black belts. There's a big difference that I see in the black belts and the brown belts as far as grips are concerned. Would you agree with that, Francisco?
In grips?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's so many things that are going on here. It's just really interesting. It looks simple, but it's never simple.
Right.
Oh, that's
right. As you get more experience, you see that there's actually 3 techniques that each guy is thinking of.
And these guys have to be so careful. I mean, that's the thing with the sport. With this level of the sport, they can't be reckless about how they play the guard, and the guy on top just can't be reckless about passing because the games are so tight at this level. They're going to lose by 2 points or less, an advantage or something like that.
Right, a sweep is it.
Yeah,
here's the
it's
sweep.
just much different.
Yeah, you can see him just like no sweep, no sweep, no sweep.
Yeah, I love that about high-level jiu-jitsu. Like, you see like guys like Andre Galvao or all of these guys though, but on different levels, they just refuse to be swept. Like that. That's like at that level, and I think it's now that jiu-jitsu is getting so high-tech and high-level. Even you see it at the blue belt level, guys training and competing like black belts now more and more.
Mm-hmm.
But they will not relent.
Yeah, you're right. It's a mental fortitude, isn't it? It's not just physical strength. It's like, I'm not going to be swept.
There's not going to be a point here. A lot of times we don't train that way.
Right.
You give. At that point, there's a point where you kind of like, okay, he got it, and it's hard to put yourself in. When you go compete, then you give up 2 points, and that's what you lose by.
You can't help but think in the mental replay afterwards. You think of all the ways you could have either stopped or avoided that sweep.
Yeah, or just a little bit more effort at that particular moment could have put it off.
Budo Dave in the chat room, if that's him, said that the mats in England were really cold.
Yeah, they were on a nice rink in Nottingham also. These weren't as cold as ADCC.
Oh, so there's ice under there.
Yes.
I did not know that. That's funny.
I just mental injured them just throwing the mats down. Good enough.
That is funny.
Tonquinho's been competing in a lot of tournaments this year, along with his girlfriend, Mackenzie Dern.
Oh, that's right.
How long was he out?
About a year.
Wow.
It's a long time for a black belt to be out of competition.
And a lot of people might not know, but Tonquinho, the guy on the bottom, is the last person to submit Rafa Mendes.
I remember that.
I'm sorry, not submit. Beat. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that match recently.
Yeah, from Abu Dhabi.
So it's safe to say there's targets on everyone's back right now.
Yeah, he told me in Vegas he wants to go against Rafa again.
Wow. Someone's got to challenge this, guys.
Right.
I wasn't paying attention. What's the score here? Or is there a score? Is it 0-0 at this point?
No, well, he just got a sweep, so it's at least 2-0 for Tonquinho. Tonquinho teaches in Arizona out of Megatone's Academy.
That was an intense burst.
Right.
That was great. That's the kind of stuff you really can't, you know, you have to be in those moments to really, like, you know, see if you've got it or not.
Right.
I mean, you have them in your training, but you got to do them a lot. And
Yeah,
that was just heart and just athleticism and just
the bar for do or die
fight.
gets set, right?
Yeah, that's a fight at that point.
The composure to see when those opportunities are present is a big deal too. Because otherwise you're just splashing against a brick wall,
Yeah.
which I'm super good at.
That was cool too. That half guard to guard is
so much going on in this match.
There's a lot to learn from watching competition.
Yeah, we say that a lot on Destroyer too. That, you know, there's competition, and then there's watching people just rolling. You know, the great guys just kind of rolling in their academies. You just get so much out of seeing people train.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost as if you get different things from each.
Totally.
Like sometimes it's cool to watch how the
So
guys.
there he gets the mount.
Yeah, 4 points.
That was a fast tap. When I was watching it, I couldn't tell from the angle that I had if he tapped or not, but he did. Tonquinho got a choke. So that gave Tonquinho the win in the division.
So you came. I mean, when we trained on Tuesday, you came home with a couple of things that you wanted to try out. What were maybe like the top 3, or what did you really stand out for you?
The main thing I got was if you watch the episode of IBJJF TV number 9, you'll see Wilson Hayes do a beautiful bow and arrow choke. And I'm not going to ruin it for you. Just watch the episode. You'll see it. It's crystal clear. But that's what we drilled on Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's just a thing of beauty. It looked like a kata. You know, it looked like it was agreed upon that this is how I'm going to submit you in the event.
Like
That's awesome.
like a
do you see themes? Like I have a hard time. Like, but do you see, if you watch a competition, you're there for the whole time.
Mhm.
Do you see themes of, like, I'm noticing a lot of this?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I will. Especially, I mean, it's so overwhelming. But after the Worlds tournament, 4 days of just watching 10 mats at the same time and trying to focus, you will see, like, okay, let's go back to 2009. There was a lot of 50-50. That was the theme of that year. One thing is there's this side control escape that I've been seeing a lot in the regional tournaments this year.
Oh,
So
right
I'm
on.
sure we'll see that a lot at next year's Worlds or Pans. But yeah, you do see things start to germinate.
At the Pans 2012, I saw it start at the blue belt division. It was the Berimbolo.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't even the take the back. It was just to threaten guys, and they would come up. And I saw it go from blue belts and then filter into the purple belts, because Keenan Cornelius was using it a lot for that. And then I saw it filter to the browns. And then, I mean, you didn't see it as successful in the blacks, but you saw guys threatening with it.
Yeah, I agree on that one. Yeah, I've definitely. And that technique came on like just like
Wildfire.
gangbusters.
Right.
Yeah, just like it was. It's really interesting to see that kind of stuff. We get these like trends, and that was such a big trend a year or so ago. I feel like, or a year ago, when it was just like, it was almost like, oh, if you want to be good at jiu-jitsu, you got to know this,
Right.
And it's not for everybody, but that was that technique,
The Mendes brothers told me that they enjoyed being at the tournament on some of the lower belt days. I'm talking about the Worlds, because they saw a lot of guys doing, quote, their techniques.
Right.
Not guys that they weren't students of the Mendes brothers, but they were doing brimbelos and things that the Mendes brothers do.
Yeah. I mean, the leg drag pass is like the technique of the year.
Right now, yeah.
It's what the last year, or I think, last year, North-South choke was like everyone was doing videos on how to do it. And that's like an old technique. That's not a new technique. But it's funny when, like, they catch on and everyone feels like they need to do it and try it, and you start seeing it from all different angles. Like I'll go visit a friend's open mat, and then one of my buddies who has an academy will show that technique to me, and then on Destroyer we'll see like a brand new, Jeff Monson's showing somebody how to do it, and now it's Marcelo Garcia. That choke, everyone wanted to display that for like a brief period of time.
Right.
And it's a tried and true technique. It is not like a novel. Like, I guess Berimbolo is a little bit more novel. Like these, like the Miao brothers and Mendez really kind of brought that technique to like the forefront. It's so interesting to look at. That's why I think people like it.
Right.
Just like that tornado sweep or something, which you shouldn't be doing all the time, but like everyone thinks that they should be. There's always that snarky blue belt that thinks that he should be doing that all the time.
Right. But I think that's what keeps jiu-jitsu interesting. It's constantly evolving.
I'm cool with it, Although, I don't know. Our we're a little bit more staid, I think, than maybe some others, But it's constantly changing.
And I think you guys have a big hand in that now, is because you can present these things as they develop, and you pretty much give it to the jiu-jitsu hive mind, and everybody gets
you're
peck
right.
away at
It's
it.
interesting and I don't think about that too often, but I've noticed that we can shape some trends too with Destroyer, just because you're just kind of putting a magnifying glass on one particular thing. I felt like we kind of did that like with some personalities too. We kept we were hyping Kurt Osiander a lot, and I think his legend started like growing and growing, and it's just like it's really interesting how you can do that. It's fun.
Right. It's not always the world champions that are the most exciting people. I mean, Kurt has a great personality. He's not a world champ, but he always has something interesting to say. He's a great teacher.
Oh yeah, and he's got a great history too. Great background. Yeah.
But that's so good to build personalities within the sport.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that will help it grow. Yeah. This is interesting cider. I like it though.
The ginger kind of comes in the back, doesn't it?
Yeah, you could drink a lot of these. I'm just saying.
It's been dangerous in the past. I don't know anything personally about it, but I heard from a guy in a place.
I'm a little disappointed that you don't know enough about that.
So Braulio fought MMA. Finally, right? He's been talking about this for a long, long while.
Yeah, well, he was all ready to go. He was at the venue, and it got canceled. This is his first match last year, so this is his second attempt, and this one finally happened.
And I think the whole thing with the expo too kind of built up the idea of him being an MMA and what's that going to lead to. But he won first round with a choke. It was a head and arm from mount, right?
He passed over to side to finish it. He started from the mount and passed over. But.
So, did you see this fight, Francisco?
I did. I saw it live, and I thought it was a good fight for him. I was a little worried for him. I had that.
Okay, I was going to ask.
I started getting those like sensations of concern. My body was telling me, I don't know, man. But I was hoping.
In the beginning, what did you think of his stand-up?
It didn't seem like I don't think that you could expect him to be rock solid on that.
Right.
He probably hasn't been doing that long. I was with Zeus from Middle Easy, who it's like two kind of opposing thoughts. I think he's more of like an MMA guy with that kind of background and knowledge, expertise, maybe in knowing all the fighters, and he doesn't know who Braulio Estima is like I do, which to me, he's top 10 in the maybe the last 10 years legend status wise. So I felt like he was going to be unstoppable if anything was on the ground. And so once he got hit briefly, right, and they didn't really show it on the televisions, his response. It was kind of so fast, but they remarked on it, the commentators, and so they made it sound like he might be a little hurt.
Well, I think Pat Miletich said, this will remind you you're not in a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yeah, something like that. And I was like, oh, man. You know, and that's the guy that, like, the guy that he fought, I think he knocked out Phil Baroni or something like that. So he's got, like, you know, I don't know. He was a good opponent, I think. You know, like, maybe a little bit of a journeyman, but a striker. Someone dangerous enough to where if Braulio got knocked out, people would have said, "Oh, he's not ready," or, you know, that kind of thing. Plus, he's 33, so it's late-ish to be starting an MMA career. But Homie took care of it, man. It was good.
Yeah, he did. And the way he took him down was the same way he took Jacare down at ADCC.
Yes, the inside leg sweep, right?
Yeah,
that's so good.
Oh no, the trip kind of fell to the side and extended his leg.
Yeah.
And let me pose this one to the group. Although it's obvious. What did you think his opponent had been training a lot of as soon as Braulio went for those takedowns?
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, you know, wasn't he put into the mount right away?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you're like you're done.
Right.
I don't know how you train for a guy like that. You know, this isn't like so many. I was watching the whole event. There's a guy that walked out like he was all stoked. He had his blue belt. He was
right.
You know, yeah. And I was thinking like, oh man, like you've got like a guy who's like 180 cc. He's a world champion. You know, he's on a completely different level. I mean, he's been training so long, and he's just an awesome athlete. I think he must have known it was his to like screw up at that point. You know,
right. I think Chris Holland's chance was on the feet, and once they hit the mat, it was over.
Right.
Especially if, you know, he didn't really have an opportunity to get back to standing after that because he was mounted. Maybe if he was like, if it was a scramble or there was side control, you know, if some of these guys, you know, the MMA way of fighting, you know, they're really good at like backing it up against the cage and getting them back to standing and all that. They can defend the takedown. I don't know that Estima is like I don't know enough about his takedown skills, but maybe if the guy could have defended them better, you know. Braulio's not like a you know, top tier takedown guy. Right. I don't think. I think he's more of a
guard puller.
Yeah, he's been pulling the guard, you know, but you know, good enough.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see his next opponent.
Yeah.
If he goes against a tough wrestler, he's going to have a harder time getting into the mat.
The crazy thing, and Budo Dave, again, if that's you, brought that up in the chat room, is that he dropped to 170.
Yeah.
And he walks around at like 200. Like I saw an Instagram picture today. He's like, oh, all the way up to 211. I hope I don't go any higher. I'm like, dude,
40 pounds.
40 pounds.
That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh. He looked good.
I wouldn't. It would take a lot for me to want to lose that much weight.
Yeah,
that's 20% of his body weight.
I don't even want to go down one weight class for the IBJJF stuff.
Right.
To heck no. And Budo Dave in the chat room asserts that it's him.
Okay.
But I don't know who he is.
Francisco, on your blog, you talk not just about jiu-jitsu, but other grappling arts. We here at Budo Videos are also interested in other grappling arts. And something that came up recently was a sumo highlight of a guy named Pavel Bojar from Czechoslovakia, and his Japanese name is Takanoyama Shuntaro. And this guy's a 200-pound judoka going into a sumo tournament, and from this highlight, he owns it. And it's just so cool to see high-level, well, I guess you could call it judo skills, but he's also grabbing, you know, like you do in sumo.
Right.
But let's take a look at the highlight video.
I thought it was awesome, too.
Yeah. So there he is.
So he looks anorexic as a sumo wrestler.
Yeah. That's like a sumo wrestling day one.
Yeah.
Before you've eaten all the food.
No, yeah, I heard they have these crazy bowls that are like 2,000 calories.
Yeah, they do. They do work hard to get big.
Yep. They eat and go straight to sleep.
That's horrible. I mean, amazing. I mean, horrible.
Huge size difference.
Oh! That's awesome. I gotta commend him on his ponytail as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks good. Jake, I should also tell you that we like to call it a website and not a blog because we're trying to like, we're a little bougie about it. We're trying to elevate our status.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is blog passé now?
Yeah, it's nerdy.
Okay.
They're working up to source.
Yeah, we want to be that.
Wow, look at that.
Oh, so good. He's doing some, like, it seems like he's doing techniques that these guys don't ever see against themselves.
He's going to bring cross-training to the world of sumo. It's worth noting that even though these sumo guys look soft, they are probably strong as crap.
Oh, hell
Yeah,
yeah.
they're super powerful, and you know they've got this sport down.
Wow. There is a lot of muscle underneath that fat.
Yeah. Much like a hippopotamus, you don't want it charging you.
I went to go watch a sumo tournament live, well, a couple times in Japan, and I tell you, even if you're not a fan, go watch it live. Sit as close to the front as you can.
I went
you'll
as well.
enjoy it.
When
Did you?
I went in 2005, I went to Japan, and I was there for 12 days. I did this, and I stayed in Tokyo. I trained a bunch of jiu-jitsu. I trained with a bunch of pro fighters and stuff. I had a good old time.
Yeah. Sumo's a lot of fun.
So
Look at this. He's almost.
Nice.
That's a small ring. A dohyo is what they call it, but he's almost getting pushed to the side, and he knows exactly where that line is.
right.
A lot of weight shifting there
Mm-hmm.
to get the guy tripped up.
That's also the thing about judo, though, is you have to be very aware of your boundaries too.
Yep. And you notice he doesn't strike much. A lot of he's getting hit in the face quite a few times, but he chooses to go for the grips more than the.
Yeah.
You have to think by his second or third opponent that he has a big old target painted on his back.
That was easy.
The might of the overhook.
Yeah, great highlight. Really enjoyed that. So any of you guys, I would encourage you, watch some of the sumo tournaments on TV. If you get Channel 18 or whatever the Japanese channel is in your house, there are tournaments every year, and they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're really cool. I think that kind of world grappling stuff is just fascinating to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So, do you guys know what's next weekend? American Nationals. It's going to be super fun. I'm going to be there 2 days, right?
Yep, Saturday and Sunday. Saturday's gi, Sunday's no gi.
I'm going to be there. Today's the deadline to register, so if you're planning to do it, don't stop watching us. Wait until we're done, and then log on, and then sign up for it. We'll be filming also for IBJF TV.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Right on.
We'll be live broadcasting as well.
Not a live broadcast, just for IBJF TV.
Okay, cool. And this show will go on as scheduled because it's on Fridays, and then things going on the next one. It's cool that there's a gi and no gi division.
Mm-hmm.
Like the mixed tournament is pretty cool.
This is the only IBJF tournament that does that.
Really?
Oh, really?
Usually they're gi or no gi.
Very cool.
Jake, do you have any news on any big competitors that have signed up? Or
Kaiotera signed up. Samir Chantry. I just looked through the list really quickly today. Those are the only names that stand out. I'm sure there's going to be many more.
Speaking of Kaio, if you're in the Southern California area, September 10th, he's going to be doing a benefit seminar in Tustin at I think it's Total MMA Studios, so you guys can look that up on the web. But it's a $25 entrance, and it goes to the Wounded Warriors Project. And have you been to a Kaio seminar? Or?
I've taken a few classes and privates from Kaio. Have not been to a seminar, but I can tell you his teaching ability is incredible, and you'll learn a lot.
I've heard the same.
Do you like Kaio stuff?
I do like his stuff. I've never met him, and nor have I, been to a seminar, but I know people who have, and I hear he's very, very good.
Yeah, he'll start off showing a technique, and like one time he was showing something that was so basic that I almost started to tune out. I thought, oh, I know this, and then he'll show you details over details over details that.
And that's what I was gonna say is when you go to a Kaiotera seminar, I would go there for the millimeter adjustments he's gonna give you, because dude's 100% technique.
Yeah, when he says good job, like take it to heart, because he'll make you do it over and over and over until you get it perfectly.
That's cool.
And then it's a low price for that seminar, $25, right?
$25 for a Kaio seminar. Yeah, it's 6 to 9, so it's at night. So if you have a day job,
Right on.
down.
Definitely one to make. A couple other tournaments coming up. In October 7th is for the first ever IBJJF Masters and Senior Worlds. Some people might be confused. That tournament did exist in Brazil. That's the International Masters and Seniors Worlds. That's still going to continue, but now in the U.S. there's going to be the Worlds Masters and Seniors.
I'm thinking about competing, but I'm not sure yet.
I'm still up in the air about it too.
Yeah.
What's holding you back?
You know what? I do this thing with every tournament, and that is I reserve the right to not compete until the very last moment.
Yeah.
It's been that way since I started competing like as a blue belt a million years ago, and I've had good results with that. So, I don't know. it's a lot about feeling that I'm prepared enough. At the black belt level, man, these guys are so good. I competed in Pan this year, and I lost 2-0 to Sean Hammonds, who's a Lloyd Irvin dude, who won our division, and it was just like, it's in a flash. You lose that point, and it's only 5 minutes for our class, and it's tough. The guys are so good. They're so queued up, and just their games are tight. I've experienced the similar circumstances in the Pan before at black belt level, and it's just it's rough, man. You got to be ready.
I don't know about you, but I'm always learning and improving. I never feel like, okay, I've got it.
No, it's just like feeling like a good vibe. Like maybe like you feel like your training's been excellent and you're ready to like hit some competitions versus, maybe you feel like your training hasn't been that good, or you've got like something that's been bothering you, physically or something like that. That's the thing for me. But I think you might be right in that. Maybe it's just psychological in that, you're ready if you think you're ready and just go for it because you could do well. But and especially, if you're training, like you need to be training a lot.
Right.
I say you go for it. I'll even talk to Destroyer about sponsoring you.
Right on. I don't heard they don't pay very well.
So Masters and Senior Worlds, October 7th at Long Beach in the Pyramid. There will be a live broadcast on BudoVideos.com, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of big names, hopefully some old school names competing. The only one I know for sure at this point, which we're still ways out, but Fabio Gurgel said he'll be competing there.
I'd love to see him compete.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love guys with strong passing games, so I'll be front and center, eyes wide open.
One more tournament I want to talk about is the very next week, October 14th. It's ADCC North American Trials. That's going to be in San Diego. Alberto Crane, Joel Tudor, Barrett Yoshida, Darren Uyenoyama are all scheduled to compete.
It's an awesome list.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a lot more.
That's really cool.
Yeah. All right, anything else we need to talk about today?
I think I'm done.
Francisco?
I feel good.
All right. Well, we're going to head out to the mats. Hopefully we'll see a really cool techniques from Francisco. So stay tuned. We'll be right back, guys.